Now, Tyler, you told me that you found something else. What did you find?
It's a bigger snail.
Oh, a bigger snail. Oh, and this is a snail that actually, you will find these around here. These are native.
Yeah, these live in like the ponds.
The ponds. Can we put them in some water and let's see what happens?
Well, it looks like he's already kind of coming out.
He's coming out and crawling a bit. You know what? I wonder, tell you what, can you take him out of the water and we'll dump the water here for a sec. Oh, there, actually he held on quite nicely for us. And now, can you show us how big he is by putting your finger next to it, Tyler? There we go. All right. So again, a nice shell that is spiraled. Let's go ahead and see if we can. Now, is that a squishy shell or a
It's a hard shell, because look at this.
Nice hard shell. Excellent. But the foot itself of the animal, when he comes out, or she comes out, actually, many of these snails are he's and she's at the same time.
So should I pour in a bit more?
No, I think they don't. These ones can actually, if they're on plants near ponds, they can actually crawl themselves up out of the water as long as it stays pretty moist and not too terribly hot.
Oh, look, he's moving.
There.
Just moved a bit.
Yeah, they're rotating the shell. I think it's going to come out. With snails and slugs, you usually have to be pretty patient. There we go. The foot's coming out. It rotated its shell. Foot's coming out some more. Rotating its shell. I think it's saying, hey, wait a minute. Where'd all my nice cool water go? Now, these snails actually have what's called a lung. It's not the same as a lung like what you have, but they will take an air bubble down underwater with them when they go, and that's because in water there's not a tremendous amount of oxygen, and oxygen is what we breathe in our air that's so important for us, and it's so important for snails and slugs as well. Well, there's not a lot of oxygen in water. There's a lot more oxygen in air. So if they take a little air bubble down with them underneath that shell, that's going to lighten them so that they can really carry that heavy shell around more easily. And that means that they get to access to oxygen a lot more than if they were breathing with gills the way fish do. Fish have to work pretty hard to get the oxygen out of the water. Some fish, not sunfish, but other fish will actually come up to the surface and gulp big breaths of air before they go back down again. So you can see that this snail, this particular species of snail, doesn't really put its head and its tentacles out as readily as the slug did, or that invasive species of mud snail. It kind of just looks like he's cruising around and around and around in circles, being just a little bit shy. Let's see if we...
Let's also have a size comparison of like the mud snail. That's how big the mud snail is.
Oh my goodness. Look at that mud snail versus the native snail. There we go. Let's see if
Will the mud snail come out?
Side by side snails. We could have snail races. Oh yes, it did. Look, its tentacles are out. So on the native snail, you can see its tentacle is out right there. Yeah, I can. It's on the right-hand side. Let me see if I can.
Wow. That's really cool.
Yeah, it's got white speckles on its head.
The mud snail is also out and moving.
Let's see if we add a little bit more water. Maybe it'll be easier, but the sun's helping us now too.
The mud snail is also moving.
Yeah, so you can see the tentacles now of the native snail out as it's crawling along.
Wow, those look kind of like a sea slug. Are they like related?
Yeah, actually they're in the ocean. There's even snails and slugs in the ocean.
Whoa.
Other species of them. Yep, and they also have tentacles to smell their way
Except
along.
I've seen like sea slugs which look kind of different from on land slugs.
Oh yes, sea slugs. So sea slugs, like land slugs, they've lost their shells, but sea slugs oftentimes are beautiful, gorgeous, bright
and
colors.
Snails basically look like slugs, except they have the shell. So a snail basically looks like a slug with the shell on it.
That's exactly right, hiding most of its squishy back.
Yep.
There we go. That's the one, and here's the other.